You're listening to the Stokes podcast, real and inspiring conversations with individuals from all over the world, sharing their insights on sustainability, fashion, conscious consumerism, and empowerment. Be inspired to take action and be the change you want to see in the world. Hey, and welcome to the Stokes podcast. Today, I'm very lucky to have Vishal Tolambia with me. Hi, Vishal, how are you?
Hi Lou, I'm good. How are you? And thank you so much for having me and giving your time.
You're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. So I know that you're a sustainability researcher, a multi-disciplinary designer, and you have your own startup, which is an innovative material recycling hub. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. So I have founded a startup called Humanity Center Designs. So that's a material innovation hub. So where we transform textile waste into innovative materials in the industry.
Amazing. So why don't you give us a bit of background on your fashion and sustainability journey, just so that we can get a bit of an idea of where you're coming from?
Yes, definitely. So if I start, fashion runs in the blood of our family. So my grandfather, I'm coming from an Indian background. So my grandfather was a tailor back then, and he used to stitch clothes for small for the community people around in our region. So that's where from the fashion blood and genes came into me. And then after that my father joined him again, and then he started building a small micro export house in India. So he used to make garments for brands across the world, for small boutique brands from various places around the world. So that's where the fashion actually intrigued me to run to go into this space forward into the fashion industry. And there, so after I did my bachelor's in fashion design from a reputed college in India. And from there the actual fashion side I started exploring the actual fashion side within me. And I was doing pretty good over there. So I graduated with 2 international awards over at that time, and I graduated in 2020. So that was kind of we all know within the COVID period. So the period was very drastic and everything. So after graduation, I was planning to work alongside my dad to join him, and with my fashion degree and everything. But then there were few things and challenges that I was having. So I decided to move to London to study my master's degree over here. And that's when I started figuring out that I need to do something responsible for the industry. So I choose a really amazing master's program called MA Fashion Futures. So it is a self-taught research master's at London College of Fashion, which is a really amazing course and have been really beneficial for me. So that's where the real sustainability side started coming inside me. I started exploring different domains of sustainability, how you can put sustainability as a practice and within our operations. And that's where I started sustainability. And that's where I started I specified a domain that I have to work for the manufacturing side of the industry. And that's how I developed Humanity Centered Designs.
Right.
That works in a domain with an approach to transform human centered operations into humanity centered operations that fosters the fashion manufacturing industry around the world. So I started working on Humanity Centered Designs, and eventually Humanity Centered Designs was founded during my MA Fashion Futures Masters course. So I explored and designed and developed the branding and identity and overall mission and values of Humanity Centered Designs during this Masters course. And the researchers and faculties at the MA Fashion Futures were really helpful to guide me over there. And then last year I actually registered Humanity Centered Designs in London, because in UK they provide some people in the fashion industry who are doing amazing and great work. They provide the innovation visa. So then I got the innovation visa after my student visa over here, and now I'm working full time on Humanity Center Designs.
Wow, that's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So tell us a bit more about what Humanity Centered Designs is exactly. Because I know you have a clothing range as well as the innovative hub, correct?
Yeah. So that's a really tricky question that I answer to everyone who are curious to know about what Humanity Centered Designs do. So what we do at Humanity Centered Designs is we have two business models in Humanity Centered Designs. So one is the social domain business model, and one is the responsible textile innovation domain. So like what we do is we have two different models. So within the one, what I do is I design like luxury collections for ethical consumers out there with our own innovative materials, which I have presented it like really in good platforms such as Lakme Fashion Week Impact Hub, where I have launched my own ethical collections. So this is where the humanity personal own brands comes in to provide ethical and responsible clothing options to the ethical consumers out there who are looking for more conscious choices to move toward their ethical lifestyles. And the another business model is we are in material innovation hub. So we have been transforming textile waste into innovative materials. So like I have designed and developed an innovative technology that is now under the patent process of our humanity centered designs. So what the technology does is it utilizes the pre-consumer textile waste and recycle into new innovative materials. And we have finished 6 innovative range prototype of humanity centered designs textile. We call it SCD Tex. So the full form goes at humanity centered designs textile. So that we have finished 6 prototypes, and these are now under patent process. These are the lowest impact textile materials currently within India, and it helps like brand because I feel like all the brands are now moving to sustainable development and ethical transformation. They are looking for right material innovation partner in the industry to develop their sustainable product. So we are providing all the brands out there an ethical and responsible way to develop their sustainable product which lasts long and like have a really good impact on people, planet, and fashion industry.
Yeah, no, amazing, amazing. And so when you design for a consumer, have you already designed the items or is it bespoke to them?
So like previously, like when I was in my masters, I used to like do consumer target research. Like I used to run focus groups, like what people are looking in terms of sustainable and responsible clothing and lifestyle accessory. So after getting I did a research of over 1.5 years during at LCF, and like got to know like what people really want in terms of fashion and lifestyle accessory that does not like is just recycled or made from waste, but also how it fills their values and missions toward ethical lifestyles. So I did a huge target market research and focus
Yeah.
group, and then I started designing the garments according to their needs, according to their longevity, what values do they want to carry it within them. And that's when I designed my first collection last year and presented at Lakme Fashion Week, the high runway platform. And that's when we like showcased our first collections for a commercial range out there.
Amazing. Yes, fascinating. People are becoming a lot more aware of the clothes that they wear, aren't they? And that they want them to be aligned with their values and buy from people that are doing good things. I think it's becoming so much more popular now. People are really moving away from going to a store and just buying from a fast fashion store. They're just starting to actually probably think about their clothes. Whereas before, I think we were really disconnected from our clothes. But now it seems that people are moving into a more conscious and yeah, more conscious way of buying and wearing fashion and living with fashion. So it's fascinating. So Vishal, let's go back to the materials. So one of the things that came up is why did you decide to choose the area of waste? Like out of all the different areas of sustainability, what is it that made you want to go into the waste issue?
So like the reason behind like going to waste actually like as a domain and the site for humanity centered designs operation was that made the major impact within the fashion industry as is made at the material stage, from where the material is actually coming, how much impact does it making into the supply chain, what are the sources, is it being coming from the ethical choices, is it get like is does the farmers who are like growing a cotton or other materials are getting paid or not. So like this virgin materials when we source in the textile and fashion industry have a really huge impact on the planet and people around us. So that was the reason why I chose to technically started using on waste, because I felt like waste is something which is coming from like we are not using any raw materials which are coming virgin materials for our textile supply chain. We are using waste as a new virgin material for us. So it doesn't have like long standing supply chain and impact on the people and planets. because it's eventually going into the landfills in India. Because like majority of like India, we all know like India is second largest textile and apparel manufacturing industry, but we all don't know that 90% of the production happens at micro and small size factories, and these factories
Uh-huh.
do not have any resources, infrastructures, and like knowledge about waste management. They just like dump their land textile waste into the long farmlands and everything, and it have a huge impact on the people, and eventually like it leads to many environmental like hazards for the people around the community as well. Like it leaves so much harmful gases and everything which were
Yeah.
getting in landfill. So that's where I realized that we need to take care of this textile waste which is going into the landfills. And that's when I started working on the textile waste as a domain for humanity centered designs. And after studying like from the way the waste is coming out, how does it, what quantity, what material compositions it is coming out, I started designing a new technology for recycling textile waste. And that's when I started working on textile waste completely, to build up a platform like that provides them, these micro and small manufacturers, infrastructure and support towards their waste management. Now they can like recycle their textile waste in an entirely. And you will be like amazed to know that we are recycling the textile waste just within the radius of 50 miles from where it is generated. So it is have the lowest carbon footprint in the industry. So,
Wow.
and we develop these new innovative materials, so that gives us like a really really lower carbon footprint in the industry.
Yeah.
And now any brand can utilize this materials to like achieve the environmental and social based science targets, which also gives a like kind of social support to these micro and small manufacturers.
Amazing. So, how does this work? Is it like how does a small manufacturer recycle his waste?
So I would definitely like to share this journey. So like I come from a region in India like Pushkar, where like it's an unrecognized like export hub where more than 150 apparel manufacturers work, and they produce garments for small brands around the world. As it's unrecognized area, no government policies, no NGO support is there. So these all of 150 manufacturers, like like these are small manufacturers, but like when you, and they might be producing like 10 kgs waste per day or like 20 kgs, but eventually when you sum up the whole 150 apparel manufacturers waste, it's a really good quantity. They produce over 200 tons of textile waste yearly. So what we do is, I come from locally from that region, I was already knowing these people who are making garments. So what we do is we collect their textile waste from their all of the factories, and we have our own shredding and fiber processing units. So we collect the textile waste, sort it into different compositions and colors, and then shred it into different fiber forms. And then after the fiber is generated, we fiber process the fiber, like because some of the fibers, like if you are having typical technical compositions, it has a lot of impurities within it, which needs to be extracted out from the fiber. So we procure and clean the fiber into a really clean form, and then process it for yarn processing. And then we develop different types of yarns for different innovative materials. And after the yarn is ready, we develop into various ranges, various counts, various colors as per the brand's requirement, like which we are working currently in partnership with. And after the yarn, recycled yarn is developed, we turn them into innovative recycled materials through different machineries. And all of this happens within the 50 miles of radius. And that's where humanity centered designs significant environmental contribution comes into the textile industry, that we are recycling, and we are the only one in India currently who is doing the recycling within the range of 50 miles, because it helps us like to have the whole supply chain under our eyes. We
Yeah.
know what exactly is happening, where is it happening. So that's how our recycling framework works there.
Wonderful. And so after you've created these new materials, who buys them? Do those local factories you reuse them?
So yeah, definitely, but like these local factories, like that's like works for small brands. So like small companies do not always choose for recycle or innovative materials, because sometimes these are unaffordable, because like recycling is a complex process. It requires a lot of resources, like manual sorting of textile waste, because we do not eventually have the right machineries currently in the industry for like computerized or AI form sorting. These are still underworking. So it requires a lot of time, and it's the expense is like it is a little bit expensive, I can say, than the virgin materials out there. But people are still encouraged, brands are still encouraged to opt for these materials, because these are much more impactful for the collections as well. And like what humanity centered designs does is, when we supply our recycled textile materials to brands out there, So we supply there and gives the 25% of the profit margins to the manufacturers out there for their sustainable developments. So we provide them seminars, workshops. Apart from waste management, we work with them overall sustainable operations, how they can, like enforce compliances for the regulatory industries and everything.
Yeah.
And we also provide a subsidy if a manufacturer who is providing us waste for recycling, if they want to buy us textile waste, we provide them 15% subsidy on our innovative materials. So that's way it is much more, like impactful and affordable for them to utilize and bring it back into their own supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a circular model.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. And do you find that brands are and manufacturers are really open to this, or is there resistance? How do you feel the acceptance of these new ways of using and working with textiles? Do you feel people
And
are open to this?
to be honest, like working as a sustainability researcher and founder and entrepreneur in the industry, like with multiple domains and multi-dimensional, like sometimes when I connect with larger fashion companies or brands and organizations, they have a long list of ethical compliances, like that they require, which we cannot adhere currently at the early stage. So they show a little bit of reluctancy toward the innovative materials because they have a huge list of compliances and requirement facility. But when I connect with like small brands and small fashion designers and small manufacturers, our suppliers out there, they are really like keen to move to a sustainable transformation. They are really adopted towards our materials. They always try and like pitch our innovative materials to their suppliers, to their brands out there. So I feel like the smaller companies and organizations are much more adopting the innovative and impactful
Yeah.
materials than the larger companies out there. And maybe because like the larger companies are having their serious scientific goals to achieve, so that's why their operations are something that we are focusing and developing our operations to work alongside them in the future.
Right. Yeah. Amazing. No, it's good to know because I just wondered, somehow sometimes people are very resistant to change and different ways of working and doing things, and it can be quite challenging when you're running um, a new kind of business and implementing something very innovative and new. So, Vishal, challenges along the way. What have you been facing? Challenges. What challenges have you faced with this startup?
So like there are always challenges when you run your own enterprise and at an early stage. So that's true. But yeah, I can name a few of the challenges. So like one of the challenges is like my operations are based in India currently. Like we are working as a social enterprise at the same time with this unorganized sectors. Like as I mentioned, like the MSEs, we are working with small and micro manufacturers. So like they do not have the resources and funding and compliances to move to a sustainable like operations. And like
Yeah.
we are working, so like these are like are in a scope 3, like for the sustainable development, and we eventually do not have all the resources and support to transform their operations. And whenever I connect to larger brands, so like they have all like compliances, auditing, checklist, and when they come to know that we are working with these small and micro manufacturers, they usually like prefer to work with an established or larger organizations. Like I feel like there's this lack of knowledge and like resources for this small and micro industry, that the industry, we as an entrepreneur, the global leaders need to provide them the existing support to transform their material innovations so they can be a participant in the global fashion industry out there. So this is one of the challenge in our supply chain that I usually face, and it's like majorly important, and I'm working with it. Like I'm in touch with Indian government as well currently to like provide them policies development which focus on the development of these micro and small manufacturers in the apparel industry. And hopefully soon we will be able to like have some good policy making in the formations that eventually put them into a good place and provide them the right support that they require in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's often the small businesses that have the toughest time with these kind of changes and implementations and new things, and also like understanding and having the correct knowledge and education. Yeah. Anything else in particular that you're facing right now?
uh,
Challenges.
Yeah, so like because of these compliances and everything, we are like in touch with a lot of VCs and angel investors to raise funding that will help us to move to large scale recycling operations. So definitely like, but we are like working hard on these challenges to overcome these barriers, and hopefully we will be by 2023. We are aiming to raise good funding amounts to move to large scale recycling operations, and then eventually, like we will be able to help. Like currently we are working just 23 micro manufacturers, but we have this mission to like support all the 150 manufacturers in the Pushkar region of Rajasthan, India. So as soon as we have some good financial and educational supports to provide them, we will definitely be able to like go to higher heights towards recycling, textile waste management. Also, we are currently in the process, like we have finished 6 prototypes of innovative materials, and 4 are under like the prototyping and lab testing stage. So we will be the first one in the Indian industry to recycle the wool and silk based textile waste out there, and to
Wow.
create a new innovative materials. So a lot of things is happening, and like definitely we are also planning to launch a new collection at one of the great platform in the international fashion industry. So a lot of things are happening at the current moment, and I'm really excited about it.
Amazing. No,
Yeah.
it's incredible what you're doing. And oh, I mean, obviously, we know you're from India, but was that the reason you chose to go into that local region, or was there other reasons as well that you saw the need?
So it was, like back in 2020, like to be typically, I chose that specific location, like because as I mentioned, like I come from a fashion background. So my dad was one of the micro manufacturers within the location of Fishka industry. And when I joined him, I was contacting, like as we were a apparel manufacturing hub. So I was contacting larger brands out there. So like, to be their suppliers for our own business development. Like I
Mm.
was having this traditional approach to, I was mailing them and, like participate. I even, like there are these major trade shows that happens around the world for manufacturers. I
Yeah.
contacted all of them within the COVID period. And like as we were, like a small factory with like 11 workers over there in my father's premises. So we were really small, and we did not have like good financial support and legislations. And I was getting rejected from all of them, like because we were not having compliances and everything. And
Yeah.
that was the moment I realized it's not just with our factory. There are more than 150 apparel manufacturers working in the region, and they all will face the same challenges because of these compliance and regulation and requirements. So that was the moment when I decided, okay, I need to move, like further for masters and develop something that I can do something for these manufacturers in our home community, which I have grown up within. Like I've seen cutting, stitching, every kind of work and learned from these manufacturers out there. So that was the time when I decided to focus my master's project on the development of the community that I'm coming back from, because it will provide them existence, support, resources, infrastructure. And I have the, like the opportunity to go to London and like to work in the sustainable industry and then bring back the knowledge to them. And now whenever we work with alongside them, we have couple of seminars, operations, workshops for them, and they are like really happy to know the new legislations that are coming in the industry. So like I would like to share an incident about the manufacturer. So like he was working for a client in another country, and
Mm.
like they canceled the order at the like the end movement. And the
Yeah.
manufacturer, as we know, like the small manufacturers have a huge dependency on it, even a small orders, but it was a pretty big order for them, and they canceled at the right moment. And I was in touch with a really like activist organization out there in London. So I contacted them, and this is the situation. They came into the situation and then solved by writing to the brand, and they took the action over it. So I feel like that was a really, because I have the now the industry connections over here, which I
Right.
could provide to them. So
Yeah.
that's something really important, that I'm here and I can provide the support and knowledge to them if they face any challenges in the future.
Yeah, that's amazing. No, and it must feel so good to be able to help that region where you've come from, also because of your family background.
Yeah,
It's like you're giving back
that's true.
to them, which is, it's beautiful. And then actually the whole project that you're involved in, is incredible. So congratulations. It's
Thank you
amazing.
so much.
And Vishal, how do you envision the future of fashion?
The future of fashion, like it's typical to answer, but like
Yeah.
from my own from my own philosophy, I feel like there's nothing sustainable at the moment in the industry. Like there's
Right.
nothing sustainable. We, all the brands out there, we as entrepreneurs, you as an like enthusiast and researcher and activist. So like we all are trying to be more responsible towards our operations, to build a pathway towards the actual sustainability. Because I feel like whatever we are doing, we are still having a little bit of contribution to the like the impact, carbon emissions and everything, with our lifestyles, with our operations. So we are just trying to be much more responsible. And I feel like in the future industry, when everyone will have the resources, knowledge, and infrastructures to change their lifestyle and operations, we will definitely have a time where we can proudly say that we all are sustainable now in the industry. So the future is bright, and definitely we all are working together. We all have to stand by together to provide each and everyone the assistance we require towards sustainable transformation.
Yeah, amazing. I love it. And how do you feel about, brands? Like a lot of people blame the brands and say that, brands are responsible, and, the consumer, well, if they don't know, then they're just going to buy. And what, do you think it's up to the consumer as well to educate themselves and learn more about what's going on, rather than just kind of turning a blind eye? If a brand's saying they're offering a sustainable line, or, let's look at fast fashion. Like, so many people are addicted to just having more and more and more, and they're just not really thinking, where are my clothes made, how are they made, who made them, what impact did they have on the planet?
So I think like it's both ways. So like the brand also has the power and the consumer also had the power.
Yeah.
So like whenever a brand claims that they have the sustainable collection with this compositions with this positive impact on the planet, like they just put it on their like the tags of the clothing out there in the retail store or online merchant. But the real impact can be made by the consumers when he reads, like whenever you go out there in a store and like see something says sustainable, just ask the manager, just ask the website, like we can connect people like how is it sustainable, because everyone can write about sustainability, but it's really hard to prove out there. And a lot of brands like out there are like greenwashing the term sustainability, like
Yeah.
even if it's coming from like making made in Bangladesh, China, with like cheap needle sources, it still says ethical out there. But what actually ethical means is like you are paying the right wages out there, and
Right.
it can be like communicated to the consumer out there through the product. Like you just have to analyze the whole supply chain
Yeah.
over of the product, just put it on the website. I know it's a lot of work, but that's what we are working for it, to build a sustainable and transparent fashion industry. So if consumers start demanding from all of these brands the real transparency index of the each product, not the brands just transparency, but we have to ask for the each product transparency index, and that
Yeah.
will eventually bring the whole supply chain under the eye of a consumer. And then he has the power to decide if I should buy it or not. And if he
Yeah.
feels like it's not happening, it's not transparent, they have to ask them again that where is it coming from, how is it coming from, what's the real side of the industry. And like you will be amazed to, like we are working on another project with Humanity Centered Designs. So we are like working on a technology called Fashion Affair. So it's like a Tinder of industry. So what we are doing is like we are collecting, it's like a Tinder. So like you match with people with your own visions and values.
Yeah.
So like in Fashion Affair, what you will do is like you have this app which stores your data. Like we all have different types of values in terms of sustainability. You might be
Right.
liking a organic material, I might be preferring for a recycled materials product. So you
Mm-hmm.
fill there your own values in the app of the Fashion Affair. And then the Fashion Affair is have a technology that like is attached to the garments out there in the stores. So whenever you go into the garment, it compares your values to the garment supply chain information. If it matches, it's a Fashion Affair, and it gives you the right like guidance. Okay, this is the Fashion Affair and you can have it. So there's these are the kind of transparency that like can build up real good values and provide you the right actual what's happening, and it matches with your profile, that okay, this is
Yeah.
matching with your profile. And every consumer will have a way to evaluate the product themselves.
Yeah, I love it. So that's consumer based.
Yeah, that's consumer based, so it provides the ethical and complete transparency of a product to consumers.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it. And when's that out? Or is it?
So currently, like we are in the prototyping stage, and once the prototyping
Okay.
R&D is done, I will start connecting VCs and angel investors to like work on large scale operations. Also, I'm looking for a really good ethical company currently, like fashion brand. I'm connecting with CEOs and sustainability directors who would like to implement this technology in their supply chain. So that will be really amazing to see like who we connect with this with technology as in like starting of this. So definitely it should come out like within like maybe 1 or 2 years, because we are still in the progressing, because the supply chain is whole diverse. We have to collect all the informations out there, and then have to also like research about the consumers, what they are looking for. So it will take a bit of time, but definitely it will be really exciting.
Wow, no, I love it. Fashion Affair, it's great, fantastic,
Yes.
very exciting times. Have you got any tips, Vishal, for brands, well, manufacturing companies that want to be more sustainable? Like, where can they start? Where do you feel like it's a good starting place?
Like if I talk about the manufacturing side specifically, like in developing countries, not specifically I would say India, but in other developing countries, like if I say Bangladesh, China, or Sri Lanka, which have low income countries, so the manufacturing side can start their first step by the knowledge that what's going in the industry, what is the consumer asking, what is the legislations are doing to support them, where do they fit inside them. If they fit inside them, start translating to them to into operation. If they do not fit into them, starts getting like support from funding from out there, because there are really good leaders out there who are working around it. There are many organizations who can provide them the right support. So knowledge is the first step towards sustainability for everyone, like for even for brands, for manufacturers, and for consumers. And once everyone has the knowledge, we can start working on developing the operations.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, like you said, it's the same for brands and consumers. Like from a consumer base, it's like when you have the knowledge, you can make different decisions and better decisions based on your
That's true.
values. Yeah. And brands, like, how do you feel about transparency in the industry? Do you feel like we're moving closer to becoming more transparent, or do you feel like there's still a lot of issues with transparency going on?
I think like we are going forward, but there are still issues in the industry, and that will remain like till the time we achieve the final sustainability index by the years that we are targeting it to. And the real fact is that like the brands who are claiming out there to be transparent, we never know like if this is right or not, because the
Yeah.
sustainability reporting is done by the internal teams out there. It might be like audited by other external partners, but we still need the fact and evidences to show the consumer, like
Yeah.
a consumer, like we are an educated persons in the sustainability industry, we know what these terms mean, but the out there the consumer who doesn't have the knowledge cannot understand those reportings. So the brands has to take a step to like communicate in a way that everyone can understand what's happening around there. And that's when I believe like the true transparency will be like committed and provided by the brands, when they provide all the informations to the every consumer out there in the world. So it will take a step, but yeah, definitely brands have to take measures to implement this into their supply chain.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think also for me, one of the things that's really important is honesty. Like you might not be 100% sustainable. It's very difficult, as you know, to be 100% sustainable. But at least tell people about your journey and what you're trying to do and what you're aiming to do, rather than just kind of giving some information of, oh, this is a sustainable collection and it's 10% recycled bottles, but you're not really talking about anything else. And that's kind of misleading for
That's true.
consumers. They just think, oh, they're sustainable because they're recycling plastic
That's
bottles,
true.
but they have no
Exactly.
idea about the supply chain.
How the recycling is happening.
Right. So what
Yeah.
if brands really were honest? Because I think at the end of the day, we all appreciate honesty, and then from there we can make a decision. And I think Garni does this very well, where they say what they're doing and they're trying to be better, and their aim is to do X, Y, Z by 2030 or whatever. And that for me is, yeah, it's very inspiring, and because they're just being honest, and so you know exactly what you're
That's
buying
true.
and who you're buying from.
Definitely,
Yeah.
that's a really good example. I have been following Gani from a long time, and in the textile industry, I really appreciate Bebor, what they are doing in terms of like textile, because they have they are analyzing their whole supply chain. They are giving people the right information, where the textile is coming from, how it is being
Right.
recycled, made. So these are like there are leading organizations as well in the industry who are inspiring us to do better and to make better choice out there. So like there's a lot of hopes out there to you like that we will and reach our pathway soon towards sustainability and circularity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exciting times. Exciting
Definitely, it's really
times.
exciting time coming up.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vishal. Would you like to tell our listeners where they can find you on the internet?
Sure, so you can read all about Humanity Center Designs at www.humanitycenterdesigns.com. You can follow us on Instagram with our username at Humanity Center Designs, or at LinkedIn with Humanity Center Designs. And you can also follow me personally on LinkedIn, where I share my personal values towards sustainability and what's going on in the industry, at Vishal Tolambia.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a fantastic conversation. I've learned so much, and congratulations on everything you're doing. I look forward to seeing, Fashion Affair coming out and all the new things that you're doing with Humanity Centered Designs. So thank you once again so much for coming on, Vishal.
Thank you so much, Lou, for inviting me and having this wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it, and to speak with you around all the domain of the sustainability. So it's a really, really wonderful conversation, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I hope you've enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please subscribe to the Lou Stokes podcast. Rate and review in the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're tuning in from. I'd be so grateful. Also, check out the show notes to learn more about my guests and learn more about me on my website, www.loustokes.com. Until next time, be inspired, take action, and be the change you want to see in the world.